Happy Pride Month! Welcome back to our channel. We have another Pride-related video for you today. In our last video, Steph told her coming out story, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling mine.
And Theo will be telling his coming out story next week. If you're new to our channel, I'm Steph.
I'm Katie. We are a married lesbian couple from Vancouver, and we are the creators of Let's See the World. Okay, so we'll just get right into it. I feel like a bit nervous talking about this. Yeah, so my coming out story, I guess if you watched our video where we talked about like how we knew we were gay, I talked a little bit about the fact that I knew I was attracted to women for basically as long as I can remember. And I had kind of dabbled in some experiences and things as like a teen and a young adult. But I had really never come out to myself or to anyone else during that time. I think when I was like questioning, I thought that maybe I'm bisexual, maybe I'm gay. Like I knew I wasn't straight, but I was also really like afraid of that being a reality. And I really didn't come out until I met Steph. So our experiences were very, very different. I haven't had any other girlfriends. Steph's my first girlfriend, and we've been together for 10 years. And yeah, a lot of people in my life didn't know that I was queer until we met, unless they were like a close friend. So basically, I came out like to everyone all at once. Like a lot of people kind of do it in stages. Like you did it in stages, telling like kind of your close friends and then other friends and family, and like it was a while before you were really just like out to everyone that you knew. Whereas I feel like I just like did it all.
You kind of dove in
at once.
Head first.
Yeah, because I don't know, that's just sort of the way it happened. Like when we met, I wanted everyone to know that I was in a new relationship. And looking back, I think the one thing, I don't like to say that like I have regrets about how I came out, but there are things I wish I had done differently looking back. And one of them is that I really made my coming out experience entirely about my relationship with you, because it was just so much easier to be like, I have a girlfriend now, and then kind of let people do what they wanted with that information and like draw their own conclusions about what that meant. And for so many people who didn't know that I had like known for a while that I was attracted to women, and I'd like been with other women, and that was a part of my life, and they just thought that this was like maybe my first ever experience, and they were really surprised by it. It was all about that, and it wasn't about like actually me and how I identified.
Right, so it's like our relationship status defined your sexual orientation to other people instead of you defining
it for myself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it was just so much easier that way, because it was overwhelming to tell everyone all at once, and I think because so many people didn't know, and because of just like how I present, it was like a huge shock to pretty much everybody in my life, unless they were like a very close friend. I didn't fall in love with you like despite you being a woman. I fell in love with you because you are one, because I'm attracted to women exclusively, because I'm gay. But I didn't have the language to say that to people at the time. It wasn't like, no, I have this girlfriend now because I've known for a while now that I'm attracted to women, and this is not actually a surprise. It's just a surprise to you because you didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with coming out, like, not only are you trying to explain it to other people so that they can understand, you're also trying to understand it yourself. So it's a lot. It's a lot to take on, especially if you do it all at once like that.
Yeah, and I really did. Like, we started dating, and my birthday was coming up, and I invited you to my birthday party, and I didn't really think about the fact that was going to be like me coming out to like everyone in my life. And it like everyone joked that it was my coming out party, because you came and it was like all my friends all at once, like everyone learning about it all at once.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. And I remember, like I called my mom that day to tell her, and it was so much. And I think I wasn't thinking at the time like what a big deal it was. But looking back, I realized how big of a deal it was, and I do wish I'd maybe like taken more time with it, or like thought more about how I actually wanted to tell people. Like, it was easy for me to come out and tell everybody. Obviously, I was so excited about you and about our relationship, and it just felt so natural and so easy, and it didn't feel like scary in any way. And I think that in a lot of ways I was naive because I was raised like in a really progressive household. I went to a school that was very open, and even though there weren't really any openly queer girls at my school, there were like lots of openly gay people, and I was around that, and I didn't have any like internalized homophobia. I didn't have any like real shame to kind of deal with, and so it was easy for me to tell everybody. That being said, just because I didn't have shame around it, just because it didn't mean that like the rest of the world
would just see it,
because I just thought like, this is just the same as having a boyfriend. I've had boyfriends. I would be open about that. I would hold their hand walking down the street. I would tell everybody. I would be proud of it. So of course I'm going to do that now that I have a girlfriend. And I remember you even being surprised that that it was so easy for me to do that. But I just thought, well, what's the difference? Because to me there was no difference. But I just wasn't yet aware of the fact that that's not the way the world sees it. That's not the way other people were going to see it.
Well, the funny thing is, her having that kind of naive mentality was actually really good for me.
Right.
You know, it really pulled me out of this kind of, this shameful place that I had been sitting in for so long and not even realizing it. So, thank you for that. But we kind of balanced each other out a little bit.
I was completely unprepared to like deal with the homophobia that we were going to face in our life. I was completely unprepared to deal with like everyone's reactions. I mean, initially I had a lot of support, but over the years, like there's been a lot of struggle. Like there's been a lot of things that have been hard. Yeah, like people close to us that we're just not close to anymore because we haven't felt supported, and just a lot of things that I just had no idea that those were things I would have to deal with. I just wasn't prepared. And I also wasn't prepared for what it would feel like to like enter this new community that I really knew nothing about. I knew no gay women prior to coming out. I had gay friends that were men, and I had been to Pride as an ally, and I had like gone to, tons of queer parties, and I had been like on the outside of that world. But entering it as a newly out, open lesbian woman, I was not prepared for how unwelcome I would feel. I was not prepared for just like so many things about lesbian culture that were really difficult. Like I remember like meeting all of your lesbian friends for the first time, and I think I thought I would just be like welcomed with open arms into this community that I thought I belonged in.
Like everyone's singing "We Are Family" and like giving group hugs.
Yeah, and it was not
that. Wasn't that.
Because this was 10 years ago too, and so there was very little representation for like femme lesbians, and I really hadn't seen any. There were no other like super feminine women that I could relate to, that I could identify with. And I mean, I met all your friends who were like very like sporty lesbians, and I just did not feel like I fit in. I just didn't fit in. And it honestly took like years and years for me to actually feel like a true sense of belonging in the community, and that's just something that I wasn't prepared for. I definitely felt that with people that were close to you, and it was probably just coming from like a protective place, like they cared about you, and then this girl swoops in and like she's never dated girls before, and like they want to protect you, and they want to know that I'm not gonna just experiment and then take off and like break your heart or something.
Well, yeah, and it's this kind of classic story. Like there's a scene in Chasing Amy where Amy, who had been dating a woman, tells all of her queer friends that she's now dating a man, and literally one of them says, "Another one bites the dust." And so it is like there at that time, I think that queer women were very protective over their spaces.
Super biphobic.
Totally.
Yeah. Like they thought this would be an experiment. They thought this would just be something that I would do for a little while, something that I was doing for attention. I heard all those things for sure.
Right.
And that was hard because I knew in my heart that was not true. I knew that this had been like a long time coming, and meeting you was really just like all the pieces coming together. I knew that it was real. I knew that it was going to be forever. Like, it sounds crazy to say, but I feel like I did. And like 10 years later, I was right. And so it's hard seeing other people like question it and invalidate it and think that it's not as real as it is just because they don't get it.
Right.
And I think that's probably the main thing that made it hard. And like I know, of course, as like a feminine presenting woman, I have so much privilege, and it's not to say that I have it harder than anyone else, because obviously it's just hard in a different way, but there's also so much privilege that comes along with that. But being a more feminine presenting woman that doesn't, you just don't feel like you belong as much, because there is this idea that like you're not gay enough, and is this gonna be the rest of my life? Like, is no one ever gonna believe me? Like, we're married, we've been together for 10 years, and like it's just crazy that I still have to constantly explain myself and try and validate myself to other people.
Would you say that having kind of this exposure to this online community has kind of helped with?
Oh my God, yeah, definitely. I think in the past, probably, 3 to 4 years has been like the most positive part of my coming out experience, because it really, I mean, it's an ongoing journey. And I think in the beginning it felt positive, but there were just like things coming that I didn't yet know about, and then the middle of it was like very messy, and then these past few years have definitely been the most positive, because I think we both really longed for like this sense of community that we hadn't really found yet, and it can be hard to find it in real life, and like we've moved around and we've traveled a lot, and we haven't had like a core group of like good queer friends. And being able to go online and find those people, and for me being able to find other women who I can relate to, who look like me, who work in the industries that I work in. Like, as a professional dancer and a professional model, like I'm not coming across a whole lot of lesbians on the day-to-day, like versus you who grew up in like sports and athletics, like you were surrounded by gay women, and I never was. And being able to just see other women like me and other relationships like ours has just been like so fucking validating. I can't even explain it. And that's been, I think the final piece of it all, like just coming together, and me like finally feeling like the proudest I can feel.
Yeah. I mean, even in the last few years, you see like Cara Delevingne and like Stella Maxwell, like you've got supermodels who are coming out as queer, and like how cool is that?
It's
and
so cool.
It must be so validating for you.
It's so cool. I can only imagine how that would have felt when I was young, because like I've said, and like I talked about in our other video talking about like how we kind of realized we were gay, like I just didn't see that. I just didn't know that it was even a possibility for me to date women, to marry a woman, to end up with a woman, because I never saw it.
I mean, it just shows how important visibility is.
It's so important, and it's one of the reasons why we do what we do, and we try to be visible online and offline to be that representation that we never saw, because I know just how life-changing it would have been for me, and how life-changing it must be for other people.
Yeah. So would you say you know kind of when you started identifying as gay?
I guess it would have been just shortly after we started dating, because...
And you like labeled yourself that to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I also let other people label me, because in the beginning I really was just like coming out by saying I have a girlfriend, like I'm dating someone now, and so I'm sure other people kind of did with that what they wanted. And then I think fairly early on, because like I knew once I met you, I knew before I had met Steph, I had been questioning it. I was up late at night Googling am I lesbian. I was doing all the things, right? And like, because I thought that was a very real possibility, and like I was scared of it, when I met you and it didn't actually feel scary, and it all just kind of made sense, and it's like that aha moment that everyone talks about where things just kind of click. I think then I knew, and because I didn't have any of that like internalized homophobia, I didn't have a lot of shame, I wasn't afraid of calling myself that. And I don't think I was like afraid of the word gay. I wasn't afraid of the word lesbian. I think a lot of people don't like, a lot of people just don't like labeling themselves, which is totally fine. I didn't mind that. I think it helped me feel empowered, and I think it helped me, it just felt easier to explain it to other people.
Yeah.
I was fairly open with people around me, with close friends and people that I dated. I was very open about the fact that I was attracted to women, and I think because I am more femme and no one thought that made me gay, everyone just assumed like, oh, she's a little bi-curious or whatever, or she's a little wild, like that. No one ever threw that in my face as like something to be ashamed of.
Right.
I had a couple moments along the way that I can kind of look back on and think like, yeah, those were moments where I felt shame and I kind of stuffed things down like for later. But early in coming out, I really didn't have a lot of those moments. It wasn't until later when I really realized like, oh, I am gonna have to like experience homophobia in my life. Like that's something that I'm gonna have to deal with now. That's my new reality.
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning, maybe I just didn't notice it. Maybe I was just like,
I'm sure no one was calling the little ballerina lesbian, whereas like the tomboy hockey player, like that was
right.
You know, that was what they were calling me.
Our coming out stories are really so different. And I feel like everyone's coming out story is so unique, and it's such a process, it's such a journey. I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's been like a 10-year journey for me of coming out, and it's not over. I mean, I'm going to be coming out to people for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be kind of unpacking all these things that have happened since coming out for the rest of my life. Like, it's just such a journey for people. I think if you're an ally and you're watching this, that's the biggest thing to understand. And if you're not an ally, if you're in the community, if you're someone who's questioning, I just hope that us sharing our stories can like be some comfort and some support, and just be that representation that it's so important for people to have. It's something that I wish I had. I can only imagine how I would have felt watching something like this, especially from someone like me who I could identify with when I was young. It would have been life-changing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, go and watch Steph's coming out video. It came out earlier this week, and we have tons more Pride-related content coming this month. We're putting out new videos every Tuesday and every Friday, and they're all going to be super gay.
Yeah, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on anything.
Yes, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.